It's time to gather loved ones together for all the holidays' best spread. Lynn's has great prices on all your favorite Thanksgiving items, from delicious turkey with all the fixings to mashed potatoes and yummy pies. We have everything you need to create your perfect Thanksgiving dinner. Whether it's cooking the traditional meal, completely store-bought, or a combination of both, your best holiday meal starts here. Learn more and start shopping today at lynsgrocery.com. Lynn's, where delicious begins.
Wine and Crime contains graphic and explicit content which may not be suitable for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where two friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, geez. Somebody's hitting that Benji.
Well, Benjamin, we got a weird episode today, so I got to get a little weird, you know?
Yo, so weird. Well, my name's Amanda.
Oh, yes, I'm Lucy.
That choking harlot is Lucy.
Oh, my God. Yeah, it's not as weird as potato crimes, but it's pretty weird. I think
Are you doing
weird.
a case today?
Yes.
Ooh.
And it's weird.
Okay. My case is just historically epic.
Okay, I love that.
It's a saga, and I think you'll really appreciate it. But yeah, this is a gal's pick, so it's brought to you by us. And the topic this week is mail fraud.
MAIL.
Yeah, not like MALE.
Yeah.
Fraud.
Although
fraudulent mails.
There are men. There are men.
I mean, in my case, it is a man who is a fraud.
Same.
He's soup's dead.
Fraud males.
Fraudulent males committing mail fraud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bob Loblaw's Loblog. So yeah, I have a fun little pairing for us this week. And while it is an old favorite that we have definitely paired before, it works so well with episodes that have to do with fraudulent activity that I just had to go back to it as an old standby. I also still have some of it in my arsenal. It's like an absolute favorite. So I am going back to an old fave, the Bluffer Valdiguie. Valdiguie. And this is a perfect grape for a fraudulent story because it has a history of being mistaken for something else.
Ooh. But was there intent behind it?
Eventually, yes. There were like banning of labeling in a certain way because people were saying that a different grape was this grape when it actually wasn't.
Okay.
So this is from Wikipedia. In California, it has been known as Napa Gamay or Gamay 15. Until 1980, Napa Gamay was believed to be the Gamay of Beaujolais. But following genetic analysis, the name Napa Gamay has been banned from U.S. wine labels since January of 1999 because it's actually Valdiguie. So, confusingly, both the Pinot Noir clone Gamay Beaujolais and Valdiguie were sometimes also labeled as Gamay Beaujolais until that name was also banned on labels in April of 2007.
Just because it was saying that it was implying that it was from Napa, the first one?
Yes, and so Valdiguie is typically grown in the south of France, but it's also grown in the Napa wine region of California. And so I think maybe this came from a place of confusion where it's like, well, it can't be that grape because that grape's from the south of France. That grape isn't here, so this just must be, we're just going to call this Napa Gamay. But then once they actually have the technology to do legitimate genetic testing, they were like, oh shit, this is actually Valdiguie. So we have to call it what it actually is. And people were trying to sneak by with the Napa Gamay name or the Gamay Beaujolais name, but that actually wasn't accurate. And so they had to ban those names from use so that it was called by its actual name. Call me by my name.
Okay. It's still confusing, but that's okay.
It's confusing, and also it doesn't matter because everything is dust.
Napa Gamay.
So, Napa Gamay. With that little bit of background that definitely doesn't help clear things up at all, these notes from the winemaker will make much more sense. Quote, is it Gamay? Is it Grenache? We won't make you guess again. This bluffer is Valdiguie. With only a handful of acres growing in California, Valdiguie is a grape you've likely never heard of, and I want to interject unless you've listened to this podcast where I have absolutely paired it before. The only other place it's grown is in southern France. Even the first California farmers to discover this grape confused it for Napa Gamay until a traveling Frenchman set them straight, plus genetic testing.
I could just picture like a French dude walking down the road and being like, hey, you think that's Napa Gamay? That ain't Napa Gamay.
Je m'appelle Moutsi. Je suis la Julie. Those are the only French words I know.
Yeah, I couldn't even understand it.
You nailed it. I nailed it. We nailed it.
We're nailing.
So the winemaker harvested this sustainably farmed fruit from 40-year-old Valdiguie vines, which are the oldest in California, from the Paso Robles highlands, and fermented and aged it in stainless steel for freshness. So it's going to maintain that very true to grape flavor profile. The result is a fruity red with lots of lively tart berry flavor and an herbal kick to finish. Notes of dark plum, fresh herbs, raspberry, strawberry. It goes really well with spicy food, like Indian food. Oh my God, I'm so fucking hungry. It's medium bodied with a dry finish. She clocks it at 13.5% ABV, so it's not going to knock you on your ass, but it's still going to get you a little buzzed.
A little warm.
Yeah. And it is recommended that this wine, though a red, be served chilled, which for a red typically means serve it at cellar temperature, which is around 54 degrees Fahrenheit. This bottle is a popper, so you'll want to head to winingcrimepodcast.bigcartel.com and nab yourself one of our fabulous wine keys to help you access her sweet, sweet innards.
Oh, her red fruit innards.
Her red fruit innards. And the label is so fun. It's like those Groucho Marx glasses, the glasses with the fake mustache and the big nose.
Bluffer.
The Bluffer.
Cute.
So cute. So shall
fraud.
we pop this possibly fraudulent grape bad boy open?
Fraud me up. Give me those innards. Oh.
Wet pop.
Real wet.
Ugh.
This is a good one.
Yeah. Well, cheers to you. Cheers to me. Cheers to Valdiguie. Cheers to the frauds of the world.
Yes. Gamay Beaujolais.
Gamay
Sachet.
Beaujolais.
Sachet Gamay.
Sachet Gamay. You stay. It's time to lip sync for your life.
For your life.
Your roux is very good.
I got so into Drag Race
You
not
did.
too long ago.
You were a late bloomer.
I was a late bloomer, but I'm here, baby. I'm
still
here.
trying to get you on the Dragula train. I think you would love it.
Okay, I know.
It's so spooky.
I know the assignment. I know.
You got this. You got to watch Dragula and you've got to watch Parks and Rec. It's not that hard.
I know.
What, like you're busy or something? Your kid goes to bed at like 7:30.
She does go to bed at 7:30, and it's really nice. And then I go to bed at 8:30.
Stop watching Summer House.
No, I can't.
I know.
Stop watching Summer House. I have to catch up.
I would never legitimately ask you to stop watching Summer House. I want to keep...
I'm in so deep. I had the Lover Boy last night, for God's sakes.
You did.
I'm in too deep.
You're in way too deep.
I went to a Walmart to get Lover Boy.
Yeah.
Just saying. I can't give up now. I'm halfway through the journey.
You need an intervention. I'm on my way to Iowa. Well, while I make my way to Iowa to save Lucy, let's take a quick break and hear a word from our sponsors.
Don't take my Bravo shows from me. It's all I have.
I never would. It's all I have as you hold your beautiful new baby. Okay.
This is just a bowl of cottage cheese.
Oh, that's not your beautiful new baby?
No, I'm literally eating a bowl of cottage cheese.
Ooh, yum.
All right, let's hear a word from our sponsor so I can take a big old bite.
Y'all know we've been in therapy for years, and honestly, it's like one of the most solid commitments I've ever made in my life. And frankly, it's because it's so easy and accessible. Like, it can be so challenging to find and meet with a therapist that's the right fit. It's challenging to put it in your schedule, leave your house
Yeah.
multiple times a month. You know, it's a lot. It's a lot. And Talkspace, like I said, is so accessible. They have personalized treatment. You can meet online from anywhere, and you can even text your therapist at any time. It's also affordable. Therapy can be costly, but Talkspace is affordable and in-network with most insurance providers. Talkspace, the leading virtual therapy provider, makes getting the help you need easy, accessible, and affordable.
Yeah, telehealth is the future, so it's time to get on board. Talkspace therapy and psychiatry are covered by many insurance plans and employers, so definitely check on that because
Yeah, you might be able to get it covered, babe.
Exactly. And most insured members pay a copay of $30 or less. You can easily sign up online and get paired with a licensed provider that is the right fit for your needs, typically within 48 hours, which is literally life-saving.
Yep.
And if you're just not vibing with your therapist, you can just switch it up, switch providers at no extra cost. You don't have to be, awkward about it. You don't have to do it face-to-face, which is incredible.
No in-person therapy breakups, babe.
Yeah, this is the way to go. Talkspace provides personalized treatment for individuals, couples, the LGBTQIA plus community, veterans, and teens. Basically, whoever you are and what you are seeking help with, there is a therapist who is trained in that area.
Absolutely. And as a listener of this podcast, you'll get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com/gals and enter promo code SPACE80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com/gals and enter promo code SPACE80 to get $80 off your first month and show your support for the show. That's Talkspace.com/gals, promo code SPACE80.
You've seen those commercials that are like, your laundry detergent is mostly water. And like how you're wasting all of this with your laundry detergent. But another form of the waste that comes with like traditional laundry detergent is the huge jugs it comes in. I feel so guilty every single time I'm buying laundry detergent, or at least used to, because now I have switched to Blue Land because they don't incorporate plastic into their products.
And Blue Land right now is launching a first-of-its-kind fragrance laundry detergent in the scent Spring Bloom. Y'all, it is nice. It's real nice. This is available on August 6th, and after 2 years of extensive research and development, Blue Land has successfully created a fragrance tablet that not only maintains the company's commitment to powerful plastic-free efficacy, but also delivers a delightful scent that customers have been requesting for years. The Spring Bloom fragrance is a captivating blend of sun-ripened citrus, fresh wildflowers, and golden amber. It's so beautiful.
So good.
The laundry tablets are proven to lift the toughest stains from grass stains to food stains. Y'all, I've been using their scent-free laundry tablets for years. I will never go back. My clothes come out so clean. They're looking like new. And I ride my clothes hard, okay? I'm spilling soup most days of the week.
Blue hair dye.
I'm falling down. I'm sitting in the grass with my cat.
You're gardening.
I'm gardening. I mean, I'm a messy gal. And Blue Land is on a mission to eliminate single-use plastic by reinventing cleaning essentials to be better for you and the planet with the same powerful clean you're used to. For real, I've swapped every single cleaning item in my home, from the toilet to the dishwasher to the laundry to the spray on the counters to the mirrors. All of it is Blue Land, and my house is shining like a brand new penny. Blue Land uses no single-use plastic in any component, from bottles, tablets, and wrappers to shipping. Their tablet packaging is fully compostable, and you can get even more savings by buying refills in bulk, or do what I do and set up a subscription so you just never run out of cleaning supplies. Their subscriptions are customizable and convenient, so you never run out of your most used products. And Blue Land is honestly trusted in over 1 million homes, including ours, so you don't just have to take it from us. This stuff is amazing.
Blue Land has a special offer for our listeners. Right now, get 15% off your first order by going to blueland.com/gals. You won't want to miss this. blueland.com/gals for 15% off. That's blueland.com/gals to get 15% off.
All right, Lucy, what is our background, maybe psych, and maybe a little case on mail fraud?
Hell yeah, I do have a little case for us. I don't really have any psych.
That's fair. What kind of psych would there possibly be?
We've also done like going postal.
Mm-hmm.
So we did talk about psych there and also why it's called that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but if you're interested in that, go listen to the going postal.
Wasn't it like a postal worker who had like kind of a breakdown and committed acts of violence? Yeah.
It was like a falling down situation.
It's not a great term, but
No.
it exists.
Yeah. Anyway, go listen
But
to that
that's not
episode.
what this is.
That's not what this is. That's not this. According to the Cornell Legal Information Institute, mail fraud occurs when U.S. mail is used in the furtherance of a criminal act. So it's one of those laws or like a charge that they kind of tack on.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the reason why we put this on the calendar is because some mail fraud was mentioned and we were like, what the fuck? Like, what did this have to do with mail?
Basically, most gals picks are like, what the fuck is this? Let's do an episode about it so we can learn about it. Or this is really cool. We want to talk about it. Those are the two reasons we ever pick episodes.
Yep. Feral hogs.
Yep.
Usually it's like when I'm watching an episode of Forensic Files and I'm like, this case is fucking weird.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like that grass at the bug on the windshield one.
Yep.
We still got to do that. I'm writing this down. Anyway, stay tuned for that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, mail fraud, we were just like, why? So it is very broad and very easy to tack on to other crimes. So that's what I will be discussing.
Okay.
So for a defendant to be convicted of committing mail fraud, the following things need to be true. Number one, the defendant must have been engaged in a scheme to defraud.
Okay.
Obviously. 2, the scheme must have involved material misstatements or omissions. 3, the scheme resulted or would have resulted upon completion in the loss of money, property, or honest services. And 4, the defendant must have used or caused the use of U.S. mail in the furtherance of the scheme to defraud.
So mail fraud can't be applied to like anthrax or bombs being sent in the mail because there aren't like financial or schemy repercussions, or could they tack that on to like violent crime as well that used the mail?
I am sure that they can find a way to tack that on because I'm positive that they're using the literal mail service to commit a crime.
Yeah. Okay.
That said, a lot of mail fraud is used in like white collar crime cases because obviously we don't have a lot of cases where there are bombs sent through the mail.
Right.
And yet mail fraud is a pretty common charge. So conviction of mail fraud will result in a fine, imprisonment, or both. While the statute is called mail fraud, suggesting the United States Postal Service, in 1994, Congress expanded it to include private or commercial interstate carriers. So that's like FedEx and UPS.
Okay. Okay.
So it doesn't have to be the Postal Service.
I mean, that makes sense. It would make it way too easy to just circumvent those charges by just using a private carrier. So like
exactly.
DOI.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
According to the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, any fraud that uses U.S. mail, whether it originates in the mail, by phone, or online, constitutes mail fraud.
Okay.
So if you've heard of wire fraud,
Mm-hmm.
do you know what wire fraud is?
I don't.
Yeah. But again, we hear it like all the time.
All the time.
So wire fraud is the younger sibling of mail fraud. And so that is used to describe the same thing, but in the form of telecommunications or the internet.
Okay.
So emails
Okay.
would be wire fraud versus sending, a bogus, you have won a bogus sweepstakes postcard in the mail.
Okay.
Something
So
like
yeah,
that.
phishing schemes would fall under the umbrella of wire fraud, like online phishing schemes.
Online phishing schemes, wire fraud, through the mail phishing schemes,
Mail fraud.
mail fraud.
Got it.
Wire fraud can use any forms of electronic media, including telephone or fax machines, email, social media, text messaging. All that stuff falls under wire fraud.
Got it.
So there are different types of common mail fraud schemes. So this will clear things up on like specific schemes.
Okay.
So we have fraud against older Americans. So these often include fraudulent home improvement offers, health insurance fraud, land fraud, inheritance scams, paying for free services scams.
Those churches that are like, buy this amulet and you will achieve incredible wealth. And then I send them porn in return.
We'll get to the amulets.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
We also have fraud against veterans. 78% of retired military men and women have been targeted by scams.
That's wild.
78%.
I wonder why that is. Is it just access to their information because they're like, I don't know, like affiliated with veteran services, or it's so weird.
I don't know if it's that big of a problem to get people's information.
Right. Not
and like
today,
mailing
anyway.
addresses and all that stuff. But I think, and this says it is because, or could be because, these folks are more vulnerable to imposters making fraudulent claims related to their benefits, their employment, and like special discounts.
The things they rely on to survive because we do not fucking take care of veterans in this country.
Yeah.
Got it.
Like they have all sorts of like different like perks and stuff, like added benefits, and also just like, you know, social perks, like discounts and shit. So a lot of that stuff is legitimate, and so
it's
it
easy
would
to
be
slip
really
in the
easy
fake
to
shit.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
We've got sweepstakes and lottery fraud. So these types of fraud prey on people by telling them that they've won something, and people want to believe that they've won something. So that makes it easy. But also, if you're ever pressured to act and send money to collect a prize, then it's a fucking scam.
No, they don't. You don't need to pay to get it through customs or whatever that shit is. No. Grandma. Step away from the emails.
Step away from the online gambling. Employment fraud is an attempt to deceive people who are seeking jobs by giving them false hope. Most commonly, these scams include pyramid schemes, check cashing schemes, or phony job offers.
We'll get to pyramid schemes.
I can't wait. Also, I think I told you, I might have mentioned this in Happy Hour. I don't know. But there's a docu-series called Hollywood Con Queen. I think it's on Apple.
Oh, I need to get Apple TV.
I thought you had it.
I had it for a while, and then I was not using it, and I got rid of it. But now there's like random shit that I kind of want to watch. If anyone wants to donate their Apple TV login to me, feel free.
I'll talk to you off the air.
Okay, great.
There's a show called Presumed Innocent, too, with Jake Gyllenhaal on Apple, and it's pretty good.
Joe Geronimo. Tobey Maguire.
Who's Joe Geronimo?
No one's Joe Geronimo. That's an old SNL joke about moms who can't remember celebrities' names, and they make a mom name translator.
Joe Geronimo.
And she keeps referring to Jake Gyllenhaal as Joe Geronimo.
That's me.
It's really funny. I'll send you the sketch.
Cider House Rules.
Yeah. Starring Joe Geronimo.
They have the same face to me.
Honey, I know to you they do. In reality, they don't. I believe that
But have they ever been in the same
believe
room at the same time?
They absolutely have.
You don't know.
I do know. I've watched award shows.
Fake.
You're right. It could be deep fakes. I don't fucking know. You could. None of this is real. It's all a simulation, man.
Yes.
You're not real, man. To quote Creed Bratton, we had a funeral for a bird.
Speaking of birds, there's a fucking chicken in my yard. Have I
Right
already
now?
bitched about this?
No.
Yes. But also all week. I put out my bird seed for my birds, my wild birds. And this fucking chicken came from God knows where. It's just been hanging out, shitting
won't
on my
leave?
porch.
No,
because it's eating the bird seed that my birds drop, which I'm fine with. I don't want that chicken anywhere near me. And then I hear it like walking around my yard. I hear it
in my
squawking.
dreams.
I heard it early the fuck this morning. Pooping everywhere. Yesterday, some guy came up and knocked on my door and was like, "Hey, I was just walking by and I just want to let you know there's a a chicken and a cat in your yard. And the cat's kind of stalking the chicken. And I was like, well, neither of them are mine. And that chicken's been pooping all over. So good luck to the chicken.
Yeah.
And
good luck to the cat.
Like, okay.
And then you were put on a watch list, and now the police are going to stop by.
Okay, that's not even the most embarrassing part of this whole farce, because a new person just moved in across the street. I haven't met him, but he sits out on his front porch and smokes cigarettes. Great. Good for him. Mm-hmm. The other night, that goddamn chicken was on the porch, pooping on my porch, and I came outside, and I went, get the fuck out of here.
Oh, no, and the neighbor's like, what did I do?
And the neighbor was on the phone with someone, and I heard him say, that lady's yelling at the chicken again.
You're so infamous now, he didn't even mistake it for you yelling at him.
No.
He immediately knew it was about the chicken.
Again.
And he doesn't even know you.
No.
This is
obviously gold. Doesn't know me.
This
I always
is
get
gold.
into tangles with like neighborhood animals.
You really do.
Like when I accidentally abducted 2 different cats.
Mail fraud right there.
I know.
Oh my God. I had no idea you were going through this with the chicken.
All week. It's been since Monday.
You should post to like your neighborhood next door.
I have next door.
Yeah, and be like, whose goddamn
door.
motherfucking chicken is this? Because I swear to God, I'm going to eat it if it shits on my fucking porch again.
I asked Corey if we could have roast chicken tonight.
Yum. I'm in.
Delicious.
I am on my way down to Des Moines. If you're making a literally yard fresh roast chicken, we will wrap this up and I will be in my car and on my way. I'll leave immediately. I'll make it an 8-hour round trip in one night. I don't care. But that chicken sounds awesome.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be great. And here's a picture of the chicken. Do you see it standing on the table?
Yes, okay, if you hadn't told me that was a real chicken, I would assume you had gotten like a lawn ornament, like a ceramic chicken. That is like the quintessential image of a chicken.
It's a white chicken with a red shit on its face.
It's classic.
And yellow feet. I'm so mad at it. It reminds me of your kitchen on Tamarack. Chicken. Your mom had chicken stuff everywhere.
Oh yeah, she was very into the like French farm chic aesthetic with like a splash of Italian.
Yeah.
Tuscan.
All right, I texted you the picture of the chicken. This will be on social media. I'm so mad. So mad.
This thing is fucking ballsy. It's just sitting on your goddamn table. Like it fucking owns the place.
Yep.
And frankly, she looks like a bitch.
She is a bitch.
Yeah, she
I've
looks like a
yelled
bitch.
at that. And then yesterday I was pulling out of my driveway. It was in the driveway. It was down in the driveway.
Well, then.
Should have run it over.
Yeah, beep, beep, motherfucker. Sorry about it.
Beep, beep, motherfucker.
This is how I feel about the fucking Minneapolis turkeys. The other day, I was coming home from running some kind of errand. And this will mean very little to most people, but the Minneapolis turkeys had shut down traffic on Hiawatha, which is like Highway 55.
Yeah.
Like a very busy road. And they had taken over the intersection. A squad of turkeys. They don't give a fuck.
It's something about when it's birds that instantly pisses me off. Like,
and it's birds that walk and don't really fly. It's something's off.
Get the fuck out of here.
Get in the air, bitch. Get out of the street. Get out of my yard. Get out of my driveway. Get in the fucking air. You've got wings. Get the fuck out of my way. Stop shitting on my porch. Stop wreaking havoc on my city and causing severe traffic. We're done.
Yeah.
We're done.
We're done
anyway,
here.
We're done here. I'm so sorry you're going through this, and I hope that
that's
this
okay.
Opportunity to vent was healing for you.
It really was.
I know.
I saw that chicken, and then I just went off.
Yeah, this is not a video episode, but Lucy's eyes like flicked out her window, and then she turned red and just started losing it about this fucking chicken.
I told you about the chicken.
And another thing.
I'm so sorry.
I'm not. Okay. This is incredible content.
Back to mail fraud.
Oh, right.
Telemarketing fraud. often begins with postcards or letters in the mail describing an offer or prompting you to call a 900 number or a toll-free 800 number. And when you call, the telemarketer often has a sales pitch and uses high-pressure tactics to trick the person into handing over personal information. Man, I would be so bad at that job.
Oh.
A high-pressure telemarketer.
Yeah, I hate talking on the phone, so I would not make my call quota at all.
No, definitely not.
Hate it. I screen all my calls unless they're from, like, you.
If we look at my recent calls, they're almost all red because I don't have them saved in my phone. I'm not answering.
Nope.
We are 100 days out from an election. I'm not answering a call whose number that I don't know.
Absolutely not.
And I donated to Kamala Harris, which
Very
I'm
nice.
not sad about. But the calls have increased.
Well, now they hooked you.
Anyway, next up, financial fraud.
Speaking of robocalls.
So this uses financial transactions for personal gain. So it's any offer that requires a payment first that is definitely a scam. That's just straight up financial fraud. Other types of mail fraud, just using the mail in some form to persuade people and request money in general. Or probably sending bombs. I'm sure that's mail fraud.
There's got to be something. Or maybe it's just a slightly different law.
Or it's just blowing someone up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know specifically what law that would be breaking, except for like manslaughter, attempted murder. I don't know. So with such a wide definition, you may be thinking, could I ever accidentally commit mail fraud? Because
I was thinking that. It was like being in TSA and knowing that you don't have drugs, but like suddenly is my backpack full of cocaine and is this dog going to rip me to shreds?
Yeah.
That's the feeling I have in this episode.
I don't own a gun. And last time I went through TSA, I was like, do I have a gun on me? My brain didn't go to like knife, like pocket knife. Like I have 3 pocket knives within arm's reach of me right now.
My brain always goes to drugs because duh.
I'm
like, what drugs did I forget to take out of my backpack?
Remember when I had like 2 mushroom pills when we were in Vancouver? I had them like in my purse or something, and I panicked at the airport and threw them in the garbage can.
Yes, and I was very
at the
upset
gate, at the check-in.
because I had plenty in my bag and would have taken yours.
I know, I panicked. I threw them away.
It's fine. You did the right thing.
It would have been international. I got busted once for trying to smuggle shit across the border into the U.S.
Trying to smuggle Smirnoff Ice and a cigar.
Yes. I
You
could
survived
have gone
that one
to prison.
too. I know.
We should do border crimes.
We should.
So could I accidentally ever commit mail fraud? Not really, because the final element of mail fraud is intent, which means it is impossible to commit mail fraud accidentally.
Okay.
So if you're unknowingly part of a fraudulent scheme, then there's your defense. That's a viable defense. When mail fraud is used to commit a crime of deceit, the Commerce Clause of the Constitution, the CCC, grants the federal government jurisdiction.
Okay.
So federal mail fraud charges have been used to prosecute both white-collar crimes and organized crimes. So mail fraud is often part of white-collar crime cases like financial fraud, Ponzi schemes, credit card fraud, or insurance fraud. So that's the kind of shit that I was saying very closely tied to white-collar crimes. The International Travel Act of 1961 brought mail fraud into organized crime cases. So this act prohibits using the mail for unlawful activity or distributing the proceeds of unlawful activity. So those activities include gambling, wire fraud, liquor violations, narcotics, bribery, and corruption of local officials, labor racketeering, and extortion.
All very on brand in organized crime.
Yes.
Circles, rings.
It's a lot of mobster shit. So
Mobster
you can't
shit.
use the mail to
Do mobster shit.
do mobster shit. Okay, so last but not least, before I get to my little case, here are some fun facts about the U.S. Postal Service.
Oh, okay.
So the USPS created zip codes in 1963 in order to streamline mail delivery and sorting. And did
It's
you know
weird that zip codes are that new?
I know.
That's wild.
Did you know ZIP is an acronym? Guess what it stands for? Can you guess?
Zone in post.
You're very close.
Am I?
It stands for the Zone Improvement Plan.
Oh, okay.
So you got the zone, you got the Z.
I got zone. I mean, arguably the easiest one to get, because what else could it possibly be?
Zippity.
Zippity, ippity, peepaw. And it just sounded too silly, so we shortened it to zip.
Zippity, ippity, peepaw.
Make sure to put in your zippity, ippity, peepaw. Or your letter's never going to make it.
Use your 9-digit zippity, ippity,
Zippity,
peepaw.
peepaw. I like to use my extended zippity, ippity, peepaw.
I do.
You do. You like to be very thorough with your mail.
Yeah. And the final 4 digits, if you have a P.O. box, are just like the first 4 digits of your P.O. box.
Right. So it's easy to remember.
Yeah. The first USPS office, so the first post office, was a bar in Boston.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. People used to mail all sorts of stuff before they introduced a weight limit of 4 pounds in 1913.
So you can't just like mail a cow.
People used to mail all sorts of stuff, including coffins, eggs, and dogs.
Wow.
And here is a cute little snippet from the Washington Post. According to the National Postal Museum historian Nancy Pope, the first known case of a mailed baby was in 1913. This is the same year they introduced that 4-pound weight limit that probably instigated it.
Yeah, they're like, we need rules. This is fucking crazy.
So it was
Is
a
that
baby.
a fucking baby?
Look at the picture I have.
No. Oh my God.
So this is when Mr. and Mrs. Jesse Boge of Glen Estee, Ohio, shipped their 10-pound infant son to his grandmother's home about a mile away, paying 15 cents in postage and springing for $50 in insurance because they were worriers.
Oh my God, this baby in the mail bag.
So that photo was like a staged reenactment, but that's like
What it was.
must have looked like. That's
Also-
pretty straightforward.
This postman is not amused.
No, would you
He's
be?
pissed. No, if I had to lug a baby, absolutely the fuck not.
They only paid 15 cents in postage.
Hey, it's cheaper than babysitting. Childcare.
True. Yeah.
Bring this back. Put babies in the mail. Make babies mailable again.
What do we want to mail babies?
Babies. When do we want it? Soon, please.
Well, ironically, JD Vance has come out saying that he is a big promoter of male babies.
Yeah,
So-
well, also fucking couches and dolphins. So what are we going to do? Love this guy.
God only knows what's going to happen between as we record and when this
This
episode
is
comes
released.
out.
I know. It's like, did you watch the most recent John Oliver last weekend?
Yes.
He he recorded the episode on a Saturday and then Biden dropped out the next day.
Morning.
Yeah, and he even made the joke that's like, God only knows what's going to happen between when we're recording this and when this is released in 24 hours. And sure enough, more historical political news.
And they put a big disclaimer that said,
They did.
this program was recorded on Saturday. July, it's whatever.
We didn't know.
God, that was so funny.
So fucking funny.
Okay, so back to this mailed baby. Records do not indicate whether grandmother Boge received her mail in a mailbox or through a letter slot.
Shove the baby through letters. They don't even knock on the door. It's like, no, this is protocol. You leave it
it's
in the
just-
box.
It's just one of those single, like, Amazon delivery knocks, just a pump on your front door. They don't have
They
time
are
to knock
gonna leave.
more than
They're
once.
They're not waiting for a signature. We're
No.
leaving it. We're exhausted. We're done.
She only lived a mile away.
Yes, and go pick it up yourself.
Go drop it off.
You could walk.
Someone is walking that baby.
Why isn't it you? Why is it the postman?
Why is it a strange man?
A strange, angry man. This guy is pissed. I like to think that in the reenactment, that is the postman that delivered the baby, and he's equally mad because now he has to do this fucking photo op after lugging this baby a mile to its grandma's house.
The baby's really chunky, too.
That baby is hefty. This was not an easy gig.
No. The most famous mailed child, a little girl.
There's another one?
It was like a thing for a minute. Her name was May Pierstorff. Was indeed sent by an Idaho Railway mail car in 1914 with the appropriate stamps stuck to her traveling coat.
What? Not on her forehead.
No. Her adventure made it into a children's book called Mailing May.
Oh my God. She's so cute.
She's so cute. She was 6 years old.
She does have kind of like a traumatized 1,000-yard stare, though.
She's seen some shit.
Like, what happened when you were in the mail, May?
She's really cute.
Oh, God. We need to mail June.
Should we mail June to my parents? Just not tell them.
Yes, your mom would be so excited.
Oh, yeah.
She'd never give her back.
No.
When we were in Denver, she was like, every night she wanted June to just stay in her room with her and not be with you at all.
No.
She's going to steal your baby.
I know. She's going to be one of those nurses.
Yes. Yes. No one's baby is safe around Uncle Mel.
No. Just a baby
but very
hog.
well cared for.
Yeah.
She's a great grandma.
She's a wonderful grandma. One time when she was pulling June out of her car seat, she just smoked the top of her head on the door of
happens.
the car.
It happens.
When June started crying, and my dad was like, "What have you done?" It's like a really brief but intense meltdown. I was like, I gotta go.
You guys did this. You handle it. This is your problem now.
Oh, no. Okay. And I don't know why May was allowed to be mailed because it said that they introduced the 4-pound limit in 1913 and May was mailed in 1914. So I don't know what happened there.
Maybe it just hadn't caught up everywhere in the U.S. yet.
Probably not.
They snuck it in.
In 1980, William DeLucia packed himself up in a trunk labeled musical equipment, along with food and an oxygen tank, and airmailed himself from somewhere to Atlanta.
Probably cheaper than a flight, man.
Well, that wasn't his goal. Once the plane was up in the air, he got out of the trunk, rummaged around and stole $350,000 worth of shit from other airmailed packages, and then sealed himself back up in his box with his haul.
Before they had x-ray machines for the postal service and whatnot, we could really do some cool shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Crime used to be fun.
Crime did used to be fun, except
and creative.
Not for this guy, because when the plane arrived at the Atlanta airport, his trunk popped open as it was being unloaded, and
he rolled out like coffin flop.
Yes, he coffin flopped, and he was arrested.
They say the coffin flop is not a show. Holy shit, that's funny as hell. I love that.
There is one 24-hour, totally unstaffed self-service post office in Northern Virginia where customers can conduct most shipping and mailing transactions quickly and easily just by themselves.
That's pretty clever.
Kind of cool.
Yeah.
And my last fun fact, the Postal Service added an average of 5,629 addresses to its delivery network every day in 2023.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Was there a property boom in 2023?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe just more rural places were getting deliverable addresses.
Wow, that's wild.
Mm-hmm.
A day?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I can't even I can't wrap my head around that. That's nuts. If you had told me that was in 1940.
40s.
Yeah. With everyone in the 40s, people like returning to war and everybody getting GI Bill houses. Yeah, I would believe that. But that's wild for a year ago.
I don't think that necessarily means we were building 5,000 houses a day.
No.
But yeah, I don't know.
Damn.
I don't know.
Don't know.
Okay, here is my case.
Okay.
So this is a more recent case.
Oh, shit. All right.
On April 15th, 2024, Patrice Runner, aged 57, a Canadian and French citizen, and a man, was sentenced to 10 years in prison in the Eastern District of New York for perpetrating a massive psychic mass mailing fraud scheme that stole more than $175 million from more than 1.3 million victims in the US and Canada over a 20-year period.
Hell yeah. Now we're cooking.
That was one sentence.
Wow.
But yeah, this is fucking nuts. 4 other co-conspirators previously pled guilty to conspiracy to commit mail fraud in connection with this mass mailing fraud scheme, but he was like the ringleader.
The kingpin. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Following a 2-week trial in June of last summer, a federal jury convicted Runner of conspiracy to commit mail and wire fraud, conspiracy to commit money laundering, and multiple counts of mail fraud and wire fraud.
Damn.
Runner operated a mass mailing fraud scheme from 1994 through November of 2014.
Holy shit. What a good run.
And sent letters to millions of U.S. consumers. These letters purported to be from well-known psychics Maria Duval and Patrick Guerin.
Okay.
So just a little bit of background on Maria. So Maria Duval is a trade name used by a woman named Maria Carolina Gamba, a purported psychic who gave psychic consultations in the south of France and gained some notoriety just like among the people who would be interested in psychics in the south of France. She wasn't like global or anything.
Right.
But she found some success there. So she sold the rights to the services of Maria Duval. So basically Maria Duval as like her company, like her IP, and entered into a contractual arrangement with a group of people who used the name to promote astrology charts.
Okay. Andrea, are you listening?
She literally is. So these new people with the astrology chart situation then developed this very famous scam that offered services from quote unquote Maria Duval, but she at this point in actuality had nothing to do with it. And then Patrick Guerin is a French psychic, but he was not as famous as Duval. So these are real people. They are real psychics to the extent that you believe in psychics.
Sure.
But she had a slightly more famous name in some circles than he did. She was more famous than he was. So these scam letters promised that the recipient could achieve great wealth and happiness with the assistance of the purported Duval and Guerin in exchange for a fee. They were even handwritten in cursive.
Wow.
To make it more believable.
Yeah.
I have some pictures of the letters as well. So
these look legit.
Yeah, but that, again, as legit as something like that could really
could look.
Strike a person. Although the scheme's letters frequently stated that a psychic had seen a personalized vision regarding the recipient of the letter, the scheme sent nearly identical form letters to tens of thousands of victims each week. So maybe they weren't all handwritten.
So fast.
Yeah, but it was like, Maria Duval had a dream about you. You must respond. She wants to sell you her services because she knows all these great things about you.
Yeah, okay, I'm in.
Throw in an amulet, you'll really be in.
Where do I sign?
Tens of thousands of victims every week. Once a victim made a single payment in response to the letters, they would be bombarded with dozens of additional letters, all stating they were from the so-called psychics and offering additional services and items for a fee, like cheap little amulets. Like shit that they would send them for a fee. This is so weird. They were also asked to mail back such personal items such as locks of hair, palm prints, and photos of like themselves and their loved ones so that the psychics could conduct personalized rituals and astrological services.
Huh. Okay.
In total, there were over 6 million payments made, victim payments from 1.3 million people.
That's wild. That's so much money.
It's $145 million. Is that what I said? $175 million.
Fuck.
Sadly, many of the targets of these letters were elderly and vulnerable. Runner and his co-conspirators obtained the names of elderly and vulnerable victims by renting and trading mailing lists with other mail fraud schemes. There's a whole black market for mailing lists of like specific people.
I wonder if there are workarounds to mail fraud with, I'm thinking of stuff like psychic services, the amulets. Obviously, this was a fraudulent scheme on a much wider scale. But I'm wondering if I'm like still getting letters to the elderly woman that used to live here years and years ago about the fucking amulets from this fake church. Because if you do send in money, they do send you an item. And so it's like, it's kind of on you if you think that item will bring you fame and fortune, but like you gave them money for an item and they sent you the item. So is that really mail fraud?
And that was exactly his defense.
Oh, okay. Okay. Because that makes sense.
Yeah.
But when it's on a scale this large, it's like, nah, bitch, you fucking knew exactly what you were doing. You were targeting these people. But on a smaller scale, I think you could get away with it.
Yeah.
You know, you're offering a service like psychic readings. Whether or not people believe in that is up to them. And if they want to spend their money on it is up to them. But yeah, it's so easy to exploit this kind of shit.
I think where that caught up to him is that he didn't actually deliver any kind of psychic readings either.
Okay, so he really just, I'm taking your money. I'm not even giving you any fake services. Fuck off.
I mean, maybe he did, but it didn't really strike me that the redemption part of the scheme ever really happened.
Yeah, he certainly wasn't providing services enough to justify all the money that he was raking in. It doesn't connect. It doesn't compute.
Right. Some of their victims made dozens of payments in response to the fraudulent letters, losing thousands of dollars. And just to reiterate, if I haven't made this clear, neither the real Duval or Guerin or any psychic were all involved in this scheme.
They had no idea. Their names were just being used. And like they were well known. So it legitimized his scheme to have their names on it.
Yep, exactly.
Got it.
Runner directed the scheme for its entirety of its 20-year operation, directing co-conspirators who ran the scheme's day-to-day operations through a Canadian company.
Damn.
In fact, he used a series of shell companies registered in Canada and Hong Kong to hide his involvement in the scheme while living in multiple foreign countries, including Switzerland, France, the Netherlands, Costa Rica, and Spain. He lived in Ibiza. So
we need wine and crime shell companies so we can live in Ibiza.
Exactly.
What are we fucking doing? Why are we doing this legit?
Runner maintains that he never crossed a legal line in his mail business and argued that people would have asked for their money back if they weren't satisfied with the services done. He said it in an interview with Walrus magazine.
Incredible.
Maybe it's not normal, maybe it's bullshit, but that doesn't mean it's fraud.
Okay, yeah, so that is like exactly what he's saying. It's not my fault that they believe in psychics.
Yep.
Fuck off.
But this didn't help him. This is not the first time Runner has been found guilty of running scams, including specifically psychic scams.
Ooh.
In 1991, a company held in Runner's name was fined $31,000 for falsely advertising the services of a clairvoyant who could predict winning lottery numbers.
Runner Marie.
Runner Marie.
No.
And in 2000, another company under his name was fined $362,000 by a Quebec court for misleading advertising about weight loss products. So in their sentencing recommendation, prosecutors said that on average, Runner, quote, defrauded more than 7,000 victims per week. 7,000 victims would be notable in any case, but for Runner, that was only 7 days worth of work out of more than 20 years.
Holy shit.
He did nothing else. He possesses no other skills. Runner was a full-time fraudster for decades.
Honestly, felt. I have no other skills.
Yep, I feel that.
What am I going to do?
So that is the story of Runner Marie, Patrice Runner, who's going to be in a U.S. prison for quite a while and might possibly face extradition to those other countries.
Yeah.
Because he
harbored money and lived
worked
there.
out of there.
I mean, this has been going on for so long. I imagine this case is very entangled across so many different jurisdictions. It could take a long time for us to finally figure out, like, just how far it actually went. We have these preliminary numbers.
Yep.
But if we know anything about the U.S. justice system, they're not exactly super collaborative with other jurisdictions. So God only knows, like, what could be uncovered.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be wild.
Damn.
So,
Runner Marie.
yeah, there we go.
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah. The mailed babies really got me.
That's my favorite thing that has, I think, ever been discussed on this show in this show's like 400 episode history is that we found at least 2 children sent through the mail, but I want to know how many actually were sent through the mail. And again, make babies mailable again.
Yes.
Megma.
Megma.
Smegma. Seriously, make babies mailable again.
Yes. I'm there.
Smegma. Anyway, well done.
Thank you.
Should we take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors and then come back and learn about an absolute OG of mail fraud?
Yes, please.
Let's do it.
It's time to gather loved ones together for all the holidays' best spread. Lynn's has great prices on all your favorite Thanksgiving items, from delicious turkey with all the fixings to mashed potatoes and yummy pies. We have everything you need to create your perfect Thanksgiving dinner. Whether it's cooking the traditional meal, completely store-bought, or a combination of both, your best holiday meal starts here. Learn more and start shopping today at lynsgrocery.com. Lynn's, where delicious begins.
The other night, my husband was like, hey, do you want to have fun dinner and like watch a movie in the basement on the projector? And I was like, yes, I do want to have fun dinner. And I just got our wild grain box. Whip up some of that amazing pasta with vodka sauce that he made. And oh my God.
That's what I'm having for dinner tonight.
Oh, it's so good. And then he was like, oh, we should have a little like bread for dipping. And so he just made fresh croissants.
You're describing the dinner that Corey is making in the other room right now.
Buttery, flaky croissants that I like put some butter on and then dipped in the sauce.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was at a 5-star restaurant in the basement of my home. It was so delicious, so convenient. I am obsessed with wild grain.
Wild Grain is the first ever Bake from Frozen subscription box for sourdough breads, fresh pastas, and artisanal pastries. Every item bakes from frozen. That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
In 25 minutes or less. You don't have to thaw anything. You're going to have it out and ready to shove in your face within a half hour.
Yep.
Your Wild Grain box is fully customizable, so you can choose any combination of breads, pastas, and pastries that you want. If you want an all bread box, an all pasta box, they got you. Wild Grain just launched a brand new plant-based box featuring a wide selection of plant-based pastries, breads, and hand-cut pastas. That is so cool. They're just thinking of everyone. There's really no reason for you not to try Wild Grain.
No, I also have a bunch of cookies in the freezer that need to be baked, and their cookies are so good.
Yes.
I can't get over it. For a limited time, you can get $30 off the first box, plus free croissants in every box when you go to wildgrain.com/gals to start your subscription. You heard me. Free croissants in every box.
Oh, my God.
And $30 off your first box when you go to wildgrain.com/gals. That's wildgrain.com/gals. Or you can use promo code gals at checkout. Okay, we're back. Are you ready for my case?
I think so. Are there male babies?
No. But if he could have gotten away with it, I'm sure he would have done it. Or if he could have made money doing it, he would have done it.
Okay.
We can't talk about mail fraud without the granddaddy of all fraudsters, Charles Ponzi.
Ooh. Okay, I get Ponzi and Madoff mixed up.
Well, they have a lot of similarities, and they're often grouped into similar categories.
Because Madoff ran a Ponzi scheme.
Yep, and defrauded a fuck ton of investors. And basically, Charles Ponzi wrote the playbook for what Madoff was able to do years later.
Cool. Got it. Okay.
So the story of this man's life is fucking wild. He's a douche, so I hate to say it, but like, this man was adorable. If you look at pictures of him, he looks like a blend of Fred Astaire and Frank Sinatra with a splash of Paul Downs from Broad City, like the guy who works at the with
man.
Abby, the guy who works with Abby at the
yes,
the gym.
At the gym.
Yeah, like doesn't that look like him?
Totally. He is precious.
I know. He's precious. Look at his little cane. Look at his little hat.
Oh man.
I know. It's very upsetting.
I love Ponzi.
I know.
Of course, his last name is Ponzi, too.
Oh, girl, we'll get to his names.
Plural. Okay, got it.
Charles Ponzi was born Carlo Pietro Giovanni Guglielmo Tebaldo Ponzi. And can you guess where he was born?
What? Spain?
Italy.
Oh, that's basically the same.
Carlo Pietro Giovanni Guglielmo Tebaldo Ponzi.
The Giovanni should have given that away.
Yeah.
Okay. Spain.
If you said Italy and not Spain, you're correct. He was born in Lugo, Italy on March 3rd, 1998, a Pisces. His family had money, but had over the years fallen on hard times and lost most of it. And it's kind of like canon that he got on his bullshit as like a redemption arc and wanting to like bring his family back to high society, basically.
Okay.
But regardless, he fucked over a lot of people, so who fucking cares?
Okay.
To help his family that had fallen on hard times, Charles took a job with the Postal Service before attending the University of Rome in La Sapienza. He still wanted to keep up with his rich friends, who looked down on his choice to go to college, considering it a 4-year vacation. And in his attempts to keep up with them at the bars and accepting invites from them to the opera, he blew all of his money, never finished college, and wound up completely broke as a joke.
Okay.
He'd seen some of his contemporaries go to the United States and return to the motherland of Italia with heaps of cash. So with his family's blessing, he left for the United States to seek his fortune. He arrived in Boston in November of 1903, saying, quote, "I landed in this country with $2.50 in cash and $1 million in hopes, and those hopes never left me." He said this in an interview with the New York Times.
All right.
He would have had a little more money to get started with, but apparently he gambled a bunch on the boat ride to Boston and lost it all.
Well,
come on, dude.
He saved enough for a sandwich upon arrival.
I mean, $250 in 1903 probably got him a little more than a sandwich, but it's certainly not going to get you like an apartment.
Right.
He may have been a gambling addict, but he did work hard. He picked up odd jobs all over the coast and got a decently paying job with a restaurant, but was fired for stealing from the till and shortchanging the customers. Oops.
For God's sakes.
This guy could not even fathom the idea of making an honest living. Like, nothing he did, even picking up odd jobs, he was always scamming, like on his bullshit 24/7.
That's exhausting.
He kept at it in the US, but didn't see the immediate success that he had hoped for, so he relocated to Quebec, Canada. There he got a job as a bank teller with a newly opened Italian-owned bank, probably because there were no records of his previous like dealings, scamming at other little jobs. In this position at Banco Zarossi, the pieces of his scheme really came together. He studied how the bank operated and how it was failing its customers by repaying debts out of customer deposits. Though the bank failed, the higher-ups stole a bunch of deposits and fled to Mexico, and the roots of what would become infamous Ponzi schemes started to grow in Charles' mind.
Ooh.
Ponzi did not follow his bosses to Mexico, as he had shockingly not stolen a bunch of money at the teller level, but stuck around Quebec, living in and caring for the abandoned family of Luigi Zarossi himself, who had opened the bank and then fled with his customers' money. LOL. So he was just like squatting in this guy's house after he fled to Mexico with a bunch of money from this now defunct bank.
Okay.
While house and family sitting read living and like eating for free in a mansion.
So is this banker's family also there? He's just living with the family?
Yeah, members of the family that were left behind by the main guy who owned the bank and left with a bunch of the money. And Ponzi was just like, I'll just live here. And they were like, okay.
Oh my God.
Times were different, let me tell you.
Yeah.
But while he was living with them, he worked on his plan to return to the United States with what he learned in Canada. But he was broke and he didn't have a dime to get it back across the border. So he visited a former client of Banco Zarossi, a company called Canadian Warehousing. They're just literally a warehousing business in Canada. Finding the business empty and closed, he thought to himself, I'll just break in and take a look around. To his elation, he found a company checkbook left behind and wrote himself a check for $423.58 and went to make the deposit.
That's a really specific amount of money.
I think it was that specific because it was like what he needed to get to the United States. It was basically like my ticket across the border.
Okay.
Turns out forging the signature of the owner of a now defunct warehousing company raises some red flags. And he was arrested and spent 3 years in the St. Vincent de Paul Federal Penitentiary just outside of Montreal. He was released in 1911 and returned to the United States. There, he turned everything around and decided to go straight. The end.
Special thanks.
JK, he got involved in a ring that smuggled Italian immigrants across the U.S. border illegally.
Oh.
He was caught doing this and was sent to prison in Atlanta for 2 years. He learned a lot there, cozying up with the warden with his proficiency in languages. Ponzi spoke English, Italian, and French and was a quick study. He became useful as a translator for the warden. The warden was, at that time, intercepting letters from an Italian mobster, and while Ponzi was translating them for the warden, he actually struck up a little friendship with said mobster, Ignacio the Wolf Lupe, through these letters, as well as fellow inmate Charles W. Morse, a wealthy Wall Street fraudster. So he's just like learning all these different things he can do to make his fortune when he gets out of prison. He was released with a new set of skills and ready to take on bigger schemes to put him on the financial map once and for all. Out of prison, he got married, he took over a couple of family businesses, tanked them completely, and then shifted his focus to IRCs. And here's where we get to mail fraud.
Okay.
IRCs are international reply coupons, or, according to Wikipedia, quote, a coupon that can be exchanged for one or more postage stamps representing the minimum postage for an unregistered priority airmail letter sent to another Universal Post Union member country. The purpose of the IRC is to allow a person to send someone in another country a letter along with this coupon for the cost of postage for a reply.
Okay.
If the addressee is within the same country, there is no need for an IRC because a self-addressed stamp envelope or return postcard will suffice. But if the addressee is in another country, an IRC removes the necessity of acquiring foreign postage or sending appropriate currency in the mail to pay for postage.
That makes perfect sense.
Yep. In this case, the other country was Italy, where he still had family and connections. He set up an office in Boston and started reaching out to his contacts in Europe to, quote, sell business ideas.
Wait, so did he invent the IRC?
He did not. These existed.
Okay.
And so basically what he did was set up a fake company that would sell like marketing ideas to other companies, small companies in Europe. And they would contact him with a letter of interest and an IRC to send them back a catalog of services.
Okay.
And he would just not send the catalog and go cash in the IRC and pocket the money, because this will become clear in a minute. So when a company in Spain bit on this pitch for marketing services, they sent him a letter requesting an advertising catalog, which is one of the products that he promised to provide. And this letter included an IRC to cover the postage of the catalog back to the company in Spain. When the value of the IRC is more than the cost of return postage, the post office will pay you the difference in cash, at least at that time.
Oh, okay.
Cha-ching. So he's taking in these IRCs, knowing full well he's not even going to send that catalog back, and he's just pocketing the money.
Okay.
Fortunately for Ponzi, World War I had decreased the value of postage in Europe, but not in the United States. So if he could get European companies to purchase IRCs that he then cashed in the U.S., they would turn a profit for him because they would have to send much more than the value of their postage to cover U.S. postage. But he needed some capital to really grow this idea and get it off the ground. So he sets up his own stock company called Securities Exchange Company. He initially got 18 people to invest in the first month, a total of about $1,800. So each person's throwing in like $100, which even for the time was not a crazy amount of money, but it was a decent amount of money.
When there's 18 people giving you $100 each.
Yep.
Yeah,
He's
adds
basically got $2,000 right there. With the cashing in of IRCs not quite making him the cheddar he'd hoped and desperately wanting to show that he could double these people's investments ASAP, he brought on more investors and paid out the original investors double what they'd invested with the new investors' money. So, a Ponzi scheme.
Got it. Okay.
Where the whole thing is there's one person at the top and then you have to recruit for the people at the top to keep making any money, while the people at the bottom then recruit, and it's just not at all sustainable. It always fucking implodes. It's a pyramid scheme.
Okay.
With his primary investors paid, word spread of this savvy money man, and he was able to open a bigger office in Boston. He needed middlemen to find more investors for him, so he hired agents at high commissions to go find more and more investors. So it was like these agents, many of whom were like immigrants and poor people, he would send these people out to find investors, and when they'd bring in investors, they'd get like a $5,000 commission, which was unheard of.
Yeah.
This was huge money. But what the investors were investing in was bullshit, because you can't make this kind of money off of cashing in IRCs. Like, it's not real. It's all fucking fake.
Yeah.
And the only way to pay the existing investors was with money from new investors. So the only way that he could sustain this is by continuing to bring in new investors over and over and over and over again.
And the scheme itself with the IRCs is illegal, correct?
Well, not necessarily. It was kind of a gray area.
Okay.
What he was doing with it was absolutely illegal, but it's not illegal to cash in these IRCs, especially if you're actually sending back, say, a catalog and taking money off the top. I mean, he easily could have been saying to these European investors, like, it's going to cost this much in U.S. postage to get that catalog back to you, overcharging them so that they're sending a larger IRC. So even if he did send a handful of these catalogs, he's still making a profit. But it's such small peanuts. Like, he's now dealing in the thousands and thousands of dollars. You just can't sustain that on cashing in IRCs. And we'll get to that. Like, toward the end, that becomes more clear. But it's all bullshit.
Got it. Okay.
But it's definitely a legal gray area. He shouldn't be doing this, but there weren't laws that specifically said that you can't cash in IRCs and take the money. But he's just blowing this up into something that it absolutely could never possibly have return on.
Got it. Okay.
Obviously, the well of investors will inevitably dry up, and the investors that he had accumulated, mostly working class immigrants who trusted him as like one of them, were not big fish. He started to accumulate some higher level investors. Hilariously enough, about 75% of Boston's police force tossed money his way, which I love. He also went after people close to him, like his driver and his own fucking brother-in-law. Like, this dude had no shame whatsoever. Yeah, total boo. He only cared about his own dime. He would even take investments from paper boys trying to make their pittance wages into something bigger. Like, this guy was a rat.
Yeah.
Paper boys.
Leave the boys alone.
Leave them alone. While taking in all of this money with the intent to do fake business in Europe to cash in IRCs, he hadn't actually mastered that crucial part of the scam and came to discover that cashing in the European coupons for profit in the US to repay investors was almost impossible. So again, from Wikipedia, quote, for example, for the initial 18 investors of January 1920, for their $1,800 investment, it would have taken 53,000 postal coupons to actually realize the arbitrage profits. For the subsequent 15,000 investors that Ponzi had, he would have had to fill Titanic-sized ships with postal coupons just to ship them to the U.S. from Europe. However, Ponzi found that all the interest payments returned to him as investors continued to reinvest. IRCs were simply too small scale to keep up with the influx of investor cash. He did buy a macaroni company and part of a wine company. I'm sorry, the Italian jokes write themselves here. Like, come on. But this was also not enough to keep up with all of this cash flow. So he had to keep bringing on new investors to keep getting paid. Dude was living like an absolute king in Massachusetts, too. He had a mansion in Lexington, and he purchased one of the most lavish cars available. It's called the Locomobile. Let me find a picture of it because it's wild. Locomobile. It looks like a cart, but I mean, this was fancy shit.
Ooh.
Those are older ones. This one's like a 1927. He probably got something that looked a little bit more similar to this that I just popped in the drive. But to us, they look a little silly. But he's riding in a Benz. He's riding in a fucking Caddy. Like this, it was a status vehicle.
No
for
cart.
Sure.
It looks like the cars that they drove in 101 Dalmatians.
Yes. It kind of looks like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Totally. Cartish.
Yep. So it should come as no surprise that Ponzi's meteoric rise to prosperity and the payouts he was giving to investors would draw suspicion. And in true Trumpian fashion, anyone who would dare write about these suspicions in the press would be slapped with a hefty libel lawsuit. So initially, folks kind of backed off. One article was written in favor of Ponzi's success that gained him even more investors than ever. And at this absolute peak of his scam, Ponzi was pulling $250,000 a day, which is just shy of $4 million in today's dollars.
That's all just from investors?
Yes, from investors that he promised he could double their investments. And when they're like, what are we investing in? It's like IRCs, kind of. Don't ask more questions.
Yeah.
People were literally lining up around the block to give this man their money with the promise of returns on investment upwards of 50%.
Did anyone make any kind of return?
Some people did. Some people did at the top, make money, but then if they didn't get out before it imploded, they were just fucked. Yeah, a lot of these folks reinvested over and over again.
Oof.
Yup. Ponzi was assuaged by this bout of good press that brought him even more success than ever, but was simultaneously being investigated by both the state of Massachusetts and another publication that wanted to expose him. While he had managed to keep the state out of his books for a time by promising not to accept new investments while he was being investigated, this only kept the state off his back temporarily. The floodgates finally opened on July 26, 1920, when a series of articles were published finally asking the hard questions about the validity of Ponzi's money-making. In the article, it was revealed that Ponzi himself was not investing in his own company, despite its promises of incredible returns. So people are like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You don't even trust this? The fuck? How are you going to trust this man with your money when he doesn't even trust himself with his own money, investing his own money? The paper had cited well-known financial journalist Clarence Barron, who pointed out that, quote, to cover the investments made with the Securities Exchange Company, 160 million postal reply coupons would have to be in circulation. However, only about 27,000 actually were in active circulation.
Oh my
God. So there's no way that this is where they're getting this
exist.
money. No.
Wow.
Didn't even exist. A tiny fraction of IRCs were in circulation at the time, like in the United States.
Oh,
and for him
honey.
alone to have pulled this off, he would have needed 160 million IRCs.
I love good journalism.
I know. They crushed him.
Yeah.
The United States Post Office stated that postal reply coupons were not being bought in that quantity at home or abroad. So like that wasn't, not even in the US. That was like, no, those were not numbers that were being purchased globally. And that's what would have been needed to support the kind of investments that he was taking in. The release of the article caused a panic among investors, and Ponzi was bleeding money, paying out investors who wanted to withdraw. He tried to calm the masses, and some were persuaded to stay, but he still paid out over $2 million to investors within 3 days of that article hitting the papers. And that was a really fucking hard hit. The article also brought the Massachusetts district attorney to his doorstep, demanding an audit of his books, which were made up of index cards containing investors' names and maybe some scratch notes of their investments.
Oh,
those are his books.
He's just bad at it.
Here's a box of recipe cards. Well, he was
It's
so
basically your
charismatic.
Rolodex.
It was a sloppy Rolodex. He was so charismatic that he would like talk himself out of corners that he was being put in by not only the press, but the state that was investigating him.
Oh.
And it worked in court, too. We'll get to it.
Oh, my God.
So his books, not exactly legit.
Not exactly books.
Not exactly books, more like recipe cards. Ponzi's own publicist, a man named William McMasters, even described him as, quote, a financial idiot who did not seem to know how to add.
Fucking burn.
Right? This absolutely sent me. It's so simple, yet it's so scathing. It's like, damn.
Financial idiot.
Who did not seem to know how to add.
Oh, God.
By August 2nd of 1920, another deadly article ran in the Post exposing Ponzi of, quote, robbing Peter to pay Paul. So he was now fully out there as an absolute fraud and revealing that he was upwards of $4.5 million in the red. Now grasping at anything he can to stay afloat, he paid out millions to his investors while crafting a fraudulent conglomerate that claimed to dabble in banking and international import and export. Meanwhile, the entire banking system of Massachusetts is freaking out because it's at risk of collapse because of this scheme. And so many of the investor payouts were supported by loans, predominantly from the Bank Hanover Trust.
Ooh, so this money just doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Oh.
Hanover Trust was ordered by the state not to pay out another dime associated with Ponzi and went as far as to institute involuntary bankruptcy filings on several of Ponzi's investors. The state issued a warning against Ponzi, encouraging stakeholders not to invest with him anymore and inviting investors to come forward with their financials in support of this investigation and audit against him.
Oh.
All of this led the state to discover that Ponzi was at least $7 million in debt, which by today's numbers is well over $100 million in currency.
Oh my God.
The floodgates on Ponzi were fully open, with front page news articles digging up his past schemes in Montreal and when he had first come to Boston, splattered on every newsstand. He could not escape it. That's so embarrassing.
Really embarrassing.
Imagine being one of the most like recognizable financial gurus in Boston and then your fucking face with like fraud across it.
Oh boy.
Is everywhere you turn. I mean, it's giving me anxiety.
I know.
And I don't have the scruples to ever fucking do anything like this, but my God. So his operation, as well as the Bank Hanover Trust, were seized by the state and shut down, leaving Ponzi to surrender to federal authorities in August of 1920 and face his fate. He was charged with mail fraud and released on $25,000 bail, but promptly arrested again for larceny. He posted the $10,000 bond for that charge, and the attorney general was freaking out because, like, the dude was gonna flee the country.
Yeah.
So they had to arrest him again, this time posting a bail so high that he couldn't possibly wiggle himself out of it. Finally, he was indicted on 86 counts of mail fraud and facing life in prison. Oh, God. He, by some like trick of the justice system that I can't really understand, was able to plead guilty to one count of mail fraud and just be like, yeah, okay, I did this one. Let's let the other ones go. And he got 5 years in federal prison. After serving about 3 of those 5 years, he was released, but almost immediately was arrested again on 22 counts of larceny. This caught Ponzi by surprise because he'd been under the impression that pleading guilty to the count of mail fraud dismissed the other charges, so he sued the state citing double jeopardy.
Honey.
Which is like really giving Michael Scott energy.
Yeah, that's not what that means either.
No, we're okay. Double jeopardy. I don't think you know what double jeopardy is.
I don't think he knows.
I didn't say it. I declared it. His case actually made it all the way to the United States Supreme Court before being tossed out.
He's just making shit up.
I know. Because these were new charges of larceny and his previous conviction was for mail fraud. And though they are very similar, they are not the same. So they were basically like, bruh. Double jeopardy does not apply.
Oh.
You're going to jail.
And it took the Supreme Court
to say,
Supreme bruh.
Court.
God.
As if they aren't, busy with anything else. He represented himself in court.
Always
and while
a good idea.
You know what? I gotta tell you, I wrote that down in my notes and then erased it because while I usually scoff at this for being a terrible idea, the dude was charming, and this actually worked.
Oh.
In his first court case, he was acquitted on the first 10 charges of larceny that he was facing. In his second trial for the remaining charges, he once again represented himself, and there was a fucking hung jury, so they had to just toss it all out.
Oh my God.
Finally, in a third trial, he was found guilty and sentenced to 9 years, of which he served only about 5. There were also efforts to have him deported in 1922, but these efforts failed. While briefly out in 1925, he went to Florida and got right back on his bullshit.
Stop.
This time in a scheme selling land to aspiring Americans with the promise of 200% returns on their land investments.
In Florida?
In Florida.
I mean,
the land
he probably
in
wasn't
question.
wrong.
No, he was wrong. Because
okay.
the land he was selling was cheap ass, like, swamp. Most of it was underwater, completely unusable. And he was indicted again in 1926 for violating Florida land trust laws, found guilty, and sent for a year in Florida State Prison.
Oh my God.
He was able to appeal his conviction and was released on $1,500 bond. Quote, Ponzi traveled to Tampa where he shaved his head, grew a mustache, and tried to flee the country as a crewman on a merchant ship bound for Italy.
This man is a cartoon.
I know. Not how this all happened in the span of like 6 years. Less than a decade, he was able to do all of this. I'm so impressed.
Did he still own the macaroni company?
I don't think so. I think he lost his assets in wine and macaroni. Bummer.
Bummer, dude.
Yep. So he grew a mustache, tried to flee the country as a crewman on a merchant ship bound for Italy. However, he revealed his identity to a shipmate like a fucking idiot.
Oh my God.
And word spread on the ship, then made it to a deputy sheriff who followed the ship to its last American port of call in New Orleans and placed Ponzi under arrest before he could even leave the country.
He didn't even leave the country yet.
No, he had a nice little float from like Florida to New Orleans.
Which is not that far.
Not that far. Not that far. It's all Gulf Coast. He did not make it far.
Oh, baby.
I know. No, Ponzi, sweet baby.
Oh, at least he wasn't violent, because he
wasn't violent.
Was
a douche.
Obviously an unrepentant criminal.
Yeah, and, I honestly would be much more able to, like, laugh this off and just love him if he was only targeting, like, rich fucks. But he was targeting a lot of vulnerable people that didn't have a lot of money, that were... it's the 1920s. There was a large influx in immigration. Mm-hmm. People were like seeking the American dream, and he was promising them the moon, and they lost everything.
Yeah.
And they had barely anything to begin with when they fucking got here. So it's really fucked up what he was doing.
It definitely is. And he bamboozled us too. We looked at his picture at the top and talked about how adorable he's
adorable. I know. I said I'll live to regret it, but he's so cute.
Mm-hmm.
After Ponzi's pleas to Calvin Coolidge and Benito Mussolini for deportation were ignored.
He's got to cover his bases.
He was sent back to Massachusetts.
Both of them.
And they're both like, nah, you're going to have to stay there and fucking do your time. He was like, please send me to Italy. And they're like, nah, we're not taking you.
Please, Mussolini, please.
Please, Mussolini, please, please, please. I got to get out of here, please. But he was sent back to Massachusetts to serve out his prison term. Ponzi served about 7 more years in prison. He was released again in 1934, but this time with orders of deportation back to Italy. They were like, we are not keeping you.
You're definitely going to reoffend.
Yeah. You're done. Bye-bye. I don't care how many times you shave your mustache. We know it's you. Get the fuck out of here. He begged for a pardon from the Massachusetts governor, who was like, nah, bro, and was officially deported on October 7th, 1934. He tried to scheme his way around Italy, but nothing really took root, and he died a poor man working odd jobs around Europe and then landing in Brazil. He died alone and penniless in a charity hospital in Rio de Janeiro on January 18th, 1949. And now all we have left of him is the Ponzi legacy of like LuLaRoe. I mean, can you imagine if this man had been able to see what would come from what he had built.
Yes.
I mean,
His legacy, his empire.
I'm kind of here for it.
I mean,
He left a mark.
He left a bruise.
But
It's
basically,
pretty incredible.
the modern Ponzi scheme that we have now is really born out of him being like, okay, I've got all of this money and I have all these promises to make. Where do I get more money? Because, these fucking postal service coupons are not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he came up with this like, well, wait, if I get more investors, then I can just pay the old guys and then get more investors to pay the new guys. It's not sustainable, but he did it for a while.
Yeah.
And people who do get involved in these literal Ponzi schemes can see success for a time, but it's not a long-term solution. So if your friend from high school you have not seen in a million years slides into your DMs and says, hey mama,
girl.
do you want a great opportunity to make money from home?
Oh.
Just be very, very mindful that you're probably getting Ponzi'd and you're being roped in because that person is desperately trying to reach out to you so they can make a buck because they can't make any fucking money unless they have a cohort of people out there recruiting for them.
And then that's going to be you.
And then that's going to be you. And guess what? The well's going to fucking dry up. There are only so many girlies on Facebook that want your goddamn leggings. Okay? Okay? So the OG male fraudster, our boy Charles Ponzi, there he is in a nutshell.
Damn.
What a life. What a decade.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you talked about him. I never would have known that he's such an affable, cute monster.
Can I make a confession?
You're horny over him?
No.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even consider that Ponzi was a name of a person until doing this research.
The things that you don't question as you move through the world is impressive.
I literally Googled like infamous mail fraud schemes to try and narrow down a search, and he was the top. And I was like, wait, Charles Ponzi? A person? Back up. And I'm so glad I did because he's fascinating. I mean, he pulled off a whole lot in a very short amount of time.
Yes. Impressive.
Real piece of work, but I kind of respect it. I'm not going to lie.
Did you think that the word Ponzi meant something else? Did you think it was an acronym?
Possibly an acronym or just like
short for like Ponzitacious.
People make up words all the fucking time.
They do.
I also get
Look at Gen Z.
Yeah.
Skippity toilet.
Skippity toilet, Ohio. I also get like Ponzi and then ponzu glazed salmon mixed up.
Yum. That sounds so good.
I know we have to be done because we have to go eat. We have to go eat. Right
I want like a fish with like a fruit chutney.
Yum.
Like a sea bass with like a mango chutney. Like some cilantro, some onion.
Yes, ma'am.
That chicken's back in my yard.
God damn it. Well, now you have to go hunt.
Well, never mind. We're having chicken tonight.
Never mind. Chicken's going to be eating good tonight.
You better get on the road if you want some of my roast chicken.
I am on my fucking way.
Cool. I'll see you in 3 hours and 45 minutes.
You know me. It'll be 3 hours.
I'll see you in 3 hours flat.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for Mail Fraud. Special thanks to us for finally figuring out what mail fraud is.
And mail your babies.
That Ponzi is a name.
And zip code is an acronym.
Yes.
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 All right. We love you. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Wine and Crime. Our cover art is by Danielle Sylvan. Music by Phil Young and Corey Wendell. Editing by Jonathan Camp. Our production manager is Andrea Gardner. For photos and sources, check out our blog at wineandcrimepodcast.com. You can follow us on all the socials at Wine and Crime Pod. If you have questions, answers, or recommendations to share, email us at wineandcrimepodcast@gmail.com. Episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. It is the best way to spread the word. If you'd like to show your support and get access to all sorts of wine-fueled bonus content, visit our Patreon page. Cheers!